Did you know that the fastest growing religious group in the world is the nuns? No, it's not the nuns you see in religious habits like Mother Teresa, or you saw Mother Teresa, past tense, continue to see her sisters. No, nuns are those who claim no religious affiliation. Whether they are atheistic or agnostic, basically one says, I don't believe, the other says, I'm not sure, to be somewhat simplistic about it. Nuns are those who say none when they're asked what their religious affiliation is. None. Don't have one. A nun is a young person, typically between the ages of 18 and 40, who was baptized a Catholic and who, when filling out forms or surveys, identifies themselves as having no religious affiliation. Bishop Robert Barron, of the United States, states that half the kids we baptized and confirmed in the last 30 years. So that's basic. He and I are almost the same age. So that's since my ordination, 33 years actually. So half the kids, according to statistics since I was ordained, are now ex-Catholics or unaffiliated. He also says that 1 out of 6 millennials in the United States is now a former Catholic. Bishop Barron goes on to say, or he did go on to say in a talk he gave to the U.S. bishops, that another statistic that particularly affected him and should affect us is that for every person joining the church, 6 are leaving. That's not a trickle, that's a bleed. For every person joining the church, 6 are leaving. And most are leaving at young ages, primarily before the age of 23. And this is what I think needs to get our attention. It's somewhat shocking. The median age of those who leave is 13. 13 years of age. Which probably means right after they have received the sacrament of confirmation, which actually makes it all the more sad or shocking or tragic, because the sacrament of confirmation makes us soldiers of Christ. And if they knew what they were doing, it's like a soldier getting out of the academy and hightailing it, leaving the battlefield. The sad thing is that probably most of these young people have no clue what they're doing. We should not think that the U.S. numbers, because we often hear, oh, that's in the United States, that's not here. No. They're bigger, but we're human, they're human, and we're not all that different in some ways. We are in other cultural ways, but it tends to be not in this kind of stuff. In the U.S., although the U.S. situation we might think is different, it's not all that different here in Vancouver. Where do you think the nuns come from? Your homes, our parishes, our schools, our prep programs. I've had teachers in the past tell me that almost half to 3/4 of the student body at Notre Dame, the kids don't go to church. I'm talking pre-COVID times. You think that all of those students are anti-religious? I've heard their confessions. No, they're not. Think about it this way. If you have 3 children, let 2 stand and 1 sit. And the 2 stand become nuns. Okay, leave the house. It should sort of take you aback. 2 of the children you love, because every parent loves their kids, whether they go to church or not. 1 stays, 1 sits, and 2 remain standing, and they leave. If this opens your eyes or makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, Let it. Should. Do you think your home will avoid this statistic? Statistics say no. Maybe some will. I've met homes where all the kids go to church, but they are few and far between. My own doesn't happen, although I'm well beyond the millennial age. I'm a boomer. Every home, almost every home, has kids who don't go to church. This Sunday's gospel gives us a window into this crisis of faith, and let us be clear, it's a crisis of faith. It is a crisis of faith. Coupled with the fact that the latest Pew survey about belief in the Eucharist, 70% of church-going Catholics, before all the COVID stuff, 70% of church-going Catholics don't believe in the real presence. Why would they even go to Mass? Mass for us Catholics doesn't make sense without the real presence. This is not a gathering session. This is not an assembly. We come here to worship a person who's really here. And receive a person, if we can, who's really here. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever to have this building, to have the school, because it all comes from the Mass. 70% don't believe in the real presence. So you wonder why they keep going to Mass. The Sunday Gospel gives us an insight, a window into this crisis of faith that we are experiencing. The religious leaders want to trap Jesus, and so they pose a seemingly impossible question to him, which sort of boils down to, or is crystallized in, do we pay taxes to Caesar or not? Any human person would have been trapped. Jesus is not trapped. Jesus' response goes way beyond and far deeper than a money issue, or even politics, the state, or whatever. Jesus states that we need to give God the things that are God's. This is important because Jesus' response comes from or flows from and is contained in the first commandment given by God to all of his children. This is not just for Catholics. All right? This is what we will call part of the natural law. Although God clearly revealed to his children, the Jewish people, his firstborn sons, to the Jewish people, I'm ordering you to keep the Sabbath holy. So the first commandment, I should say, to back up a bit, to love God with all of your heart, mind, and soul. And we'll see this repeated in next Sunday's readings. It flows from the first commandment that there is only one God. And this commandment is to all of his children. So when we get this one right, everything else falls into place. When we get this one wrong, everything falls apart. Eventually. Maybe not all at once, but eventually. If we teach the right thing about God and all the things about God, our children will know that God will come to know God, and not just know him, but they will understand that they are loved by him. And they will be much less likely to leave God in the church. Or if they do, they will probably come back. There's a high probability they will come back. When we do not teach them about God, and not just the knowledge, but to know him and to love him, because we are loved by him. St. John says, we do not love God first. It is he who has loved us first. So it's kind of tuning into reality. We are loved by him. We can only love him because he loves us first. So when we do not teach them about God and what they are to give to God, their love, their obedience, all bets are off. And they will likely become nuns. One way to determine what we render to God is where we spend our time and what we watch on Sunday. This is one of the key things. If you've found one of the distinguishing characteristics of the children of Israel, it was the Sabbath. Everybody else worked, they lived, they ate, they worked, they died, and they were dust. That was the cycle of life, or the path of life. God said to the Jews, no. Work is for a purpose, first of all. You're going somewhere, and I order you to stop one day of the week. And he ordered them. This wasn't a please. He ordered them to stop one day of the week and to do something, to pray, to be together as a family, to remember they had a destiny. So one way to determine what we render to God is where we spend our time and watch on Sunday. So imagine like a TV reality show where someone follows you around like a camera. I've never been able to, I can't get these programs, but they're super popular. But somebody follows you around with a camera, 24/7, scary thought, all day, not just one day, but let's say on a Sunday for 5 Sundays in a row. So the one-offs are put aside, and the average, let's say, is sort of put all together. Caught all your viewing habits, our viewing habits, TV, computer, tablet, phone, any other sneaky little device you might have that I haven't included in this umbrella. Caught it all on film. What would it reveal? That you are a Catholic or a nun, even a nun in the making. It's a challenging thought if we think about it. And we should think about it, because on the last day, that's the kind of stuff that will come at us instantaneously, at the personal judgment. It will come at us with like a blinding light. All the time we wasted, and we knew we were wasting it. And the shame we will feel at having wasted this precious commodity that God gave to us, time. And we can change that. For parents, if you want your children to grow up in the faith, there's no magic formula. There's no magic formula. And there's no 100% guarantee either that if you do all the right things, they will always go to church and they will always pray and they'll always be good boys and girls. But there are things that we can do that will inoculate them, that will give them strength and resilience, and even help them to recover from their mistakes and their sins. Because we can't be so naive, of course, that our children will never sin. We've got to teach them what to do when that happens and who to trust. So if you want your children to grow up in the faith and not become nuns, you need to be careful what you watch and allow your children to watch on TV or the computer or their phones. Be careful with the phones. It's the phones that most of the porn stuff comes through, or at least is watched. This is why this parish has purchased subscriptions to Formed, F-O-R-M-E-D, Formed, and the Word on Fire, which is Bishop Barron's site. We have, for example, been watching a series called Search on Formed for our RCIA, which this year is all on Zoom. It's the first time I've ever done it on Zoom. And people in the class are amazed that the Catholic Church is producing such high-quality film today. Actually, I'm amazed that the Catholic Church is producing such high-quality film. This thing is amazing. You've got to watch Search. It's well put together. It's high quality. It's just amazing. Search. It is said that what you eat is what you are. Well, what you are, what you watch, will have a huge impact on how you think and how you behave. To invest in this will require a very conscious decision on your part. This is not going to be easy, but nothing in life worth doing is easy. If it's really worth it, in fact, it shouldn't be easy. It's like trying to win a championship, I gravitate to the sport of basketball because it actually is the best sport in the world. But there's nothing, if you want to be a champion, that is worth something pursuing. You are going to pay a price. You are going to be sore. You are going to be tired. You are going to have to deal with some losses and recover. You are going to have to push yourself and be pushed. And if you don't believe that, you're never going to win. Get out. There's the door. It's got to be worth it. And it's worth it. It feels so good to be, at least to do one's absolute total best. So it's not going to be easy to kind of rewire our decision making, but it's worth it because every parent who's watching this absolutely loves their children and wants the absolute best for their children. Decisions must be made and a price paid for those decisions of true worth. So each of us needs to be resolved to ensure that everything we can do will be done to avoid our children from becoming another nun. Me getting the flu shot tomorrow or the next day will not guarantee that I don't get the flu, but it will inoculate me, it will help me, or if I get it, it won't be as bad. But if I don't get it, it's open season. From Jesus' teaching today, we learn that we need to keep the Sabbath day. This is so important. As it distinguished the children of Israel, it should distinguish God's children in the New Testament, the New Covenant. And we are allowing Sunday to slip away from us. We need to keep the Lord's Day holy. Some people have to work. That's just part of their job. Nurses, doctors, policemen, and so on. Some people don't have to work and they choose to work. Decisions have to be made. So there are a couple of things I'll mention, although there's many that fall into this category, but just 3 with regards to viewing. Viewing Mass can be a real sacrifice. It's always better, and I've said this and I'll keep saying it, and it's not, I don't do guilt games because it doesn't produce anything good, but I do speak the truth to reality. We are not a digital people. We are an incarnational people, which means this is always better than this. I have spent a lot of money on this because if you do something, you should do it well. And that is for the people who can't come yet or who don't feel comfortable coming yet. But as soon as we can be here, this will always supersede this. I will say that to anybody, to the world. That's not a guilt game. That's just the truth. To receive Jesus or to be able to receive Jesus in the Eucharist, it is so precious, so precious. But viewing Mass for those who are at home can be a sacrifice. It can be really tough. But remember, sacrifices for good things are never easy, always worth it. And so view it in real time if at all possible. If you can't, then watch it when you can. But don't do it out of simple convenience, because we don't go to Mass when it's convenient. We go to Mass when we make a commitment to go to Mass, right, when we can. That's why I've said in my pastor's corners, don't drink coffee when you're watching Mass. Don't have wine if it's in the evening. Shouldn't even have water. You're at Mass. Well, you're not at Mass, but you're viewing the Mass. It's a mentality. Saying, my Lord, this is a blessing. You know, it's not as good as being physically there, but I even should get into my Sunday best or my Sunday clothes. Whatever I would wear to Mass, I get into and I watch Mass. And I only get up when I need to go to the bathroom, you know, and I should go to the bathroom before Mass starts. It's a mentality, my brothers and sisters, that's so important. I'm into habits. Sometimes my habits need to be improved, but I understand habits, how they can lead us astray. So habits are so important. Avoid the convenient mentality. Number 2, pray together on Sunday, praying together with your family. Pray the Rosary, especially during this month of November, but not exclusively to October. I should say October. Every time you pray a Hail Mary, it's like making a decision for Jesus and Mary. And remember to pray it and not just say it. St. Josemaria Escriva, founder of Opus Dei, was very big. I mean, Rosary was very important to him, but he used to say to families, because the charism of Opus Dei is to help lay people be sanctified in the middle of the world. So he said, you know, if you have little ones, don't make them pray the Rosary. If they get a Hail Mary, maybe 2 Hail Marys, that's fine, just let them be. But gather them with the family so they hear and they see things. Even teenagers, he said, don't make them pray the whole thing. Maybe you get a decade or 2 out of them. And, you know, they get tired. Oh, I'm bored, Mom. Okay, that's fine, but, you know, stay here with the family and we pray. The parents and the older ones, you persevere. He was very sort of pastoral or practical, that they should learn to love to pray rather than being forced as children to pray. And that love will be an attraction. It will be like filings to a magnet as they get older. To help you do this, to help you pray the rosary, Deacon Richard and I made a video, and he uploaded it last night to our YouTube channel with beautiful sacred art to help you not only saying the prayer, but also visualizing the mysteries of the rosary. See these stained glass windows? Stained glass windows are not there because they're like pretty things to have in a church. For centuries, that's how people learned the faith, because they couldn't read. So they learned by pictures, sacred art. That's why actually St. Dominic would put in stained glass windows in churches on the mysteries of the rosary to help people understand the beauty of the human body, because God became one of us. That's how he actually evangelized his people. So these stained glass windows are all teaching opportunities to learn about the faith. So the sacred art on the YouTube is the same thing. It's beautiful to have in the mind, impressed in the memory. And 3, watch a program or movie unformed. Deacon Richard was telling me that he has gone through almost every movie with his parents, and he unformed, and he prays the Divine Mercy Chaplet unformed as well. I watch it for other things. I've seen a movie or two, but I'm going to be even more focused on it now, because I'm not just preaching to you, I'm preaching to myself. Don't kid yourself. So today, on this sacred day, the Lord's Day, resolve to do these things so that your child or your children do not grow up and one day check the box that says, nun, I'm a nun. I don't even have to wear a habit, I'm a nun. But rather, they will check the box that says, I'm a Catholic and I'm a child of God.